Beyond the Gates spoilers teased that Vanessa was never meant to uncover the truth. Not about Joey, not about Doug, not about the darkness that ran beneath the casino's glittering floorboards. But fate has its cruel way of revealing the rot beneath gold, and in the flashing lights of Beyond the Gates casino, Vanessa's love, ambition, and conscience were about to collide in a storm she could no longer control. She had always admired Joey's confidence, his ability to command a room with only a glance, to make power look effortless. When they first began working together, Vanessa believed that standing beside him meant safety. He was the kind of man who made promises sound like destiny. But lately, every word he said felt like a warning dressed as affection. When he told her, in that low voice of his, that he would kill anyone who got in his way, she laughed at first until she realized he wasn't joking. Doug's death had been ruled an accident. Everyone at the casino accepted that. A late night, too many drinks, a curve on the highway he didn't see coming. But Vanessa couldn't stop hearing Joey's words, and she couldn't unsee the way his jaw tightened whenever Doug's name came up. Something about it didn't fit. The way Joey had been that night, calm, almost rehearsed, chilled her to the bone. Weeks passed, and suspicion began to corrode the love that once blinded her. Joey had given her everything: a position of power, the illusion of partnership, a glimpse of a life where she could rule beside him. But when she asked for equality, for a say in the decisions that shaped the empire they'd built, Joey turned cold. "You're not ready," he said, leaning back in his chair, his smile sharp as glass. "There are conditions, Vanessa. People you can't handle." Donnell, for one. Donnell. The name alone made Vanessa's pulse quicken. He was Joey's enforcer, loyal, brutal, and smart enough to know when to disappear. Joey made it clear, if Vanessa wanted real power, she'd have to prove she could control Donnell. That meant bringing him back into line, no matter the cost. Joey said it like a test. Vanessa took it as a challenge. She tracked Donnell to a run-down boxing gym on the outskirts of the city. The place smelled of sweat and dust, the air heavy with the metallic echo of fists hitting pads. Donnell didn't look surprised to see her. "You're a long way from the casino," he said, throwing his towel over his shoulder. "I'm not here to watch you train," she replied. "I need you back." He smirked. "Back under Joey? Or back under you?" Vanessa didn't answer, but the truth was written all over her face. She needed Donnell not for Joey's empire but to dismantle it from within. Donnell studied her for a long moment. "You're playing a dangerous game, Vanessa." "I know," she said. "But I'm not the only one." She left the gym that night with Donnell's reluctant agreement, a silent pact forged in shared resentment. Donnell had his own reasons to hate Joey, and Vanessa could sense it. Maybe it was fear, maybe it was revenge. But she didn't care, as long as he helped her. In the days that followed, Vanessa began piecing together the puzzle Doug left behind. The casino's ledgers, the security footage, the files Joey thought he'd erased, they all told fragments of a story. And at the center of it all was the night of Doug's accident. Joey had been there, not directly on the road, but close enough to pull the strings. The unedited camera footage was the key. Joey had submitted a clean version to the police, conveniently missing 10 crucial minutes before Doug's car left the casino gates. Vanessa had heard rumors about the missing clip but never dared to ask. Now, she was ready to find it herself. Every night after Joey left the office, she stayed behind under the pretense of managing reports. She knew the system, the passwords, the encrypted drives. Joey had taught her too well. The footage was hidden on a drive marked Archive, Internal. When she opened it, the first few minutes were ordinary: Doug laughing, keys jingling, the valet handing over his car. But at minute 8, a shadow crossed the frame. A second figure stepped beside Doug. The camera shook as if someone had tampered with the angle. Then the feed cut out. Vanessa's pulse quickened. She hit pause, zoomed in. The second figure was tall, wearing a dark jacket, and the outline was unmistakable. Joey. Her stomach turned. The room spun. Doug hadn't been drunk. He hadn't crashed by accident. He'd been led to his death, and the man she'd been sleeping beside had made it happen. Vanessa's hands trembled as she copied the footage onto a flash drive. She knew Joey's schedule by heart. He'd be out of the office for another 15 minutes. But as the progress bar crawled across the screen, she heard footsteps in the hallway. The door handle clicked. Joey stepped in, his tie loosened, his expression unreadable. "You're still here," he said. Vanessa's heart hammered in her chest. She turned slightly, blocking the computer screen with her body. "Just finishing up reports," she said, forcing a smile. Joey walked closer. "You're working too hard. You don't need to impress me." She needed to stall. The copying was only at 78%. Her mind raced for something, anything to buy time. So she did the only thing she could think of. She closed the space between them. "Maybe I'm not trying to impress you," she said softly. "Maybe I just missed you." Joey's smirk returned, that familiar, dangerous curve of his lips. He stepped forward, resting a hand on her waist. For a moment, she thought it might work until his gaze drifted past her shoulder to the computer. "What's that?" Vanessa's pulse spiked. 90%, just numbers. "Payroll." Joey's eyes lingered on the screen, then back to her. "You're shaking," he said quietly. She forced a laugh. "Maybe because you always have that effect on me." For a second, the air between them went still. Joey studied her face like he was peeling back her skin with his eyes. Then, suddenly, he kissed her. Hard, controlling, like he wanted to remind her who had the power. Vanessa let him, her mind screaming for the progress bar to hit 100. When it did, she slipped her hand into her pocket and ejected the flash drive, palming it like a card in a magic trick. She broke the kiss first, breathing heavily. "I should go," she said. Joey smiled faintly. "Tomorrow, we'll talk about your promotion." Vanessa left before her mask cracked. Her hands were still trembling as she slid into her car, the flash drive burning like a secret in her purse. But she didn't go to the police. Not yet. Joey's network was too deep. The money laundering, the fake accounts, the bribes. She was part of it, even if unwillingly. If Joey went down now, she'd go with him. She needed a way out. Clean, untouchable. That's when she turned to Randy. Randy had always been slippery, a mid-level operator who liked to play both sides. He worked under Joey, but everyone knew his loyalty was for sale. Vanessa confronted him one evening in the casino's underground parking lot, where security cameras conveniently malfunctioned. "You've been talking to Bill," she said. Randy froze mid-step. "Where'd you hear that?" "Haley told me," Vanessa lied. "And I know what the three of you are planning." "Don't play dumb with me." Randy's smirk faltered. "Look, whatever you think you know, I know you helped Joey cover up Doug's death." That shut him up. Vanessa stepped closer. "You're going to help me fix it. You're going to give me everything you have on Joey, the accounts, the transfers, the shell companies, or I'll make sure the cops hear your name before his." Randy hesitated, then nodded slowly. "If I do this, I'm dead." "Not if we get to him first." They made their deal that night. Randy would feed her inside intel, and in exchange, she'd make sure his name stayed clean when the storm broke. But Vanessa wasn't naive. She knew Randy would betray her the moment he got a better offer. That's why she needed more than his word. She needed proof. Over the next few days, Vanessa began gathering everything she could: copies of invoices, coded emails, and transaction trails that pointed back to Joey's offshore accounts. She used every trick she'd learned from him: manipulation, charm, deceit, and turned them against him. The irony wasn't lost on her. Joey had taught her how to lie, and now she was using those lies to destroy him. But guilt haunted her. Every night, when she closed her eyes, she saw Doug, his laugh, his easy smile, the way he used to say her name like it meant something pure. She remembered how she drifted away from him, drawn by Joey's fire, blind to the danger. Doug had trusted her, and she'd led him straight into Joey's trap. Sometimes, she thought she could still smell Doug's cologne in their old house, even though she hadn't been there since the funeral. The guilt was unbearable, but it also kept her going. If she could expose Joey, maybe she could give Doug the justice he never got. The deeper Vanessa dug, the darker things became. The casino wasn't just a front for laundering money, it was a hub of corruption that reached into politics, law enforcement, and the banking system. Joey wasn't just a criminal, he was a puppeteer, and everyone in the city danced to his tune. Vanessa began to realize the scale of what she was up against. If she took Joey down, she'd be taking on an entire empire. That's why she couldn't rely on the police. She needed to dismantle him from the inside piece by piece. Donald returned to her side like a ghost, moving through shadows, watching Joey's every move. He reported meetings, deliveries, Coded messages exchanged between Joey and his partners. Donald had access where she didn't, and his silence was as valuable as gold. But trust was a dangerous currency. Donald was unpredictable. Vanessa could never tell whether he was helping her or playing his own game. Still, she had no choice but to believe him, or at least pretend she did. Each night, Vanessa replayed the unedited footage of Doug leaving the casino. She studied every frame, every flicker of movement, hoping to see something new. And one night, she did. Just before the feed cut out, Doug stumbled slightly, catching himself on the hood of his car. His head dropped, his movements sluggish like he'd been drugged. Vanessa froze the frame. Doug's drink, the last drink he had at the VIP bar before leaving. Joey had poured it himself. The realization hit her like a punch. Doug hadn't crashed because he was drunk. He never stood a chance. The next morning, she met Donald in a quiet diner by the waterfront. The place was nearly empty. The only sounds were the hiss of the espresso machine and the murmur of waves outside. She slid a USB drive across the table. "It's all there," she whispered. "Proof he killed Doug." Donald didn't touch it. He just stared at her, his eyes dark and unreadable. "If this gets out, Joey's not the only one going down." "I know." "Then why do it?" "Because I can't keep pretending." Donald leaned back, exhaling slowly. "You think the cops will protect you? They're on his payroll. The minute they get the drive, you disappear." Vanessa hesitated. "Then I'll make sure it goes somewhere he can't reach." Donald finally took the drive, pocketing it without another word. "You're playing with fire," he said. "I already got burned," Vanessa replied. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Joey was already watching. He had cameras in the office, bugs in her phone, trackers in her car. Every step she took, every whisper she made, he was 2 moves ahead. That night, as Vanessa drove home, a message pinged on her dashboard screen. "We need to talk, Jay." Her hands tightened on the wheel. The road stretched out before her like a dark vein. In the reflection of the windshield, she saw her own face, and for the first time, she didn't recognize it. The war between love and hate was over. All that was left was survival. Vanessa didn't sleep that night. The message from Joey lingered on her phone, a threat wrapped in politeness. She knew what it meant. He'd found something, or someone had told him. Randy, maybe, or Donnell. Trust was an illusion, and in Joey's world, everyone eventually sold their soul to the highest bidder. At sunrise, she sat in her kitchen staring at a half-empty glass of water. Her reflection in the window looked like a stranger's. She thought about Doug again, about the way he used to pour her coffee, the way his laughter filled the room without needing to prove anything. He was the opposite of Joey in every way: gentle, unguarded, human. That was why Joey hated him. Joey couldn't stand anyone who didn't play by his rules. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a new message: "You have something that belongs to me." Noon. My office. Vanessa closed her eyes. She had less than 4 hours to prepare. Donald was the first person she called. "He knows," she said. "I told you he'd find out." "What about the drive?" "It's safe for now." "Then we need a backup." "If he takes me down, that footage still needs to surface." Donald hesitated, then said quietly, "Randy can do it. He's got access to the distribution network. If anything happens to you, he'll leak it." Vanessa's voice hardened. "You trust him?" "No," Donald said, "but he's scared, and scared men do what they're told." By noon, she was standing outside Joey's office, her pulse thudding in her throat. The casino floor below shimmered with noise and color, but up here, in the executive wing, it was all glass, steel, and silence. The door opened before she could knock. Joey stood behind his desk, calm, hands clasped in front of him. "You've been busy," he said. Vanessa forced herself to meet his eyes. "You told me to prove myself." "That's what I've been doing." He walked around the desk, stopping inches from her. "You think I don't know what you've been up to?" "Donnell, Randy, you think they work for you?" He smiled faintly. "They work for whoever's still breathing at the end of the day." "Then you should be worried," she said, voice steady even as her hands trembled at her sides. Joey studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "You've changed," he said finally. "You used to be loyal." "I used to believe in you," she said. "Then you killed my husband." The words hung between them like a blade. Joey didn't flinch, but something flickered in his eyes. Not guilt, not even surprise, just recognition. "I didn't kill Doug," He said he killed himself the moment he crossed me. Vanessa's jaw tightened. You drugged him. I gave him a choice, Joey said, stepping closer. He made the wrong one. She could barely breathe. Her vision blurred, but she didn't let him see her cry. You'll pay for what you did, Joey chuckled. No, sweetheart. You'll pay. You think you can outplay me? You don't even know how deep this goes. The money, the cops, the investors, they all answer to me. You hand that footage to anyone, and it'll vanish before it hits daylight. He reached out and touched her chin, forcing her to look at him. But maybe we can fix this, he whispered. You delete everything, walk away from this nonsense, and I'll make sure you stay safe. You can even keep your position. Vanessa stared at him, her rage boiling beneath the surface. You think safety is what I want? Joey's smile faded. Then what do you want? Justice. For the first time, Joey's calm cracked. He stepped back, exhaling sharply, eyes narrowing. You really are Doug's wife. Vanessa turned to leave, but Joey's voice stopped her cold. If you walk out that door, Vanessa, you'll never make it home. She didn't look back. Neither will you. The confrontation was only the beginning. By the end of the day, Joey had men watching her, silent figures in cars, shadows in hallways. Donnell warned her that Joey had put out an internal order. If she tried to leave town, she'd disappear. But Vanessa was done running. She met Randy at a cheap motel off the highway, the kind of place where no one asked questions. He looked pale, nervous, his leg bouncing uncontrollably. He knows, Vanessa, Randy said before she even sat down. He called me this morning. What did you tell him? Nothing. I swear. But he's on to Donnell too. Said he's been feeding him lies. Vanessa leaned forward. We don't have time for panic. You still have the files? Randy nodded, fumbling with his phone. Yeah, but I'm telling you, this is suicide. Joey's got people everywhere. Even Haley's scared, she said. Bill's already gone. Vanessa froze. Gone? What do you mean? He tried to sell info to Joey's rival syndicate. Didn't end well. They found his car at the docks. That was Joey's style. No witnesses, no mercy. Vanessa felt the walls closing in. Then we move faster. I need you to send the footage and every file you have to 3 different news outlets. Schedule the release for tomorrow at midnight. Randy's eyes widened. You're crazy. He'll kill us. He'll kill us anyway, she said. At least this way, it means something. She left before he could argue, her heart pounding, the city lights blurring past her windshield. She couldn't go home. Joey would be waiting. Instead, she drove to the only place she felt invisible, Doug's old workshop, a dusty garage on the edge of town that hadn't been touched since his death. The moment she stepped inside, memories flooded back. The smell of oil and metal, the scattered tools, Doug's handwriting on the wall calendar frozen at the month he died. She sat on the cold floor, clutching the flash drive in her hand. For the first time, she let herself cry, not just for Doug, but for everything she'd become trying to avenge him. Hours later, headlights sliced through the garage door cracks. She froze, holding her breath. A car door slammed. Then a voice. Donnell's. It's me, he said quietly. You okay? Vanessa exhaled in relief. Barely. Donnell stepped inside, his coat damp from the rain. Randy's gone. She stood up sharply. What? They found his body near the river. Looks like an overdose. But we both know better. Her stomach dropped. He didn't even have time to send the files. Donnell looked at her, eyes heavy with something like guilt. He did. He sent them to me before he died. Vanessa stared at him, searching his face for deception. You have them? He nodded. Everything. But listen, Joey's unraveling. He's cleaning house. Haley's missing. His investors are panicking, and the cops are circling. If we make a move now, we might actually take him down. Vanessa's mind raced. We need to leak it tonight before he destroys the evidence. Donnell hesitated. There's a problem. The footage has metadata linking back to your system. If it goes public, you'll go down too. I don't care. You should, Donnell said quietly. Joey's the monster, but you were part of it. They'll call you an accomplice. Vanessa looked away, her voice breaking. Maybe I am. Donnell reached into his jacket and pulled out a burner phone. We can reroute it through my contacts overseas. No trace, no names. She nodded slowly. Do it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain hammered against the tin roof, and the smell of gasoline hung thick in the air. Vanessa watched as Donnell typed something into the phone, his fingers moving fast. Then he looked up. "It's done," he said. "By tomorrow morning, Joey's face will be everywhere." Vanessa let out a shaky breath. "Then it's over." But it wasn't. The sound of another engine roared outside, followed by the crunch of tires on gravel. Donnell's head snapped toward the window. "We're not alone." Vanessa grabbed the flash drive and shoved it into her jacket. Joey stepped out of the shadows, his face calm but his eyes blazing. Two of his men flanked him. "You disappoint me, Vanessa," Joey said. "After everything we had." Vanessa stood her ground. "You had power. You never had me." Joey smiled faintly. "You always did have a way with words." He looked at Donnell. "And you?" "I should have known loyalty wasn't in your vocabulary." Donnell shifted his stance slightly, his hand near his sidearm. "You made too many enemies, Joey." "I made you," Joey said coldly. "Both of you." What happened next was chaos. A flash, a gunshot, the deafening echo of violence. Vanessa ducked behind a workbench as bullets tore through the air. Donnell returned fire, taking down one of Joey's men. The second charged, but Vanessa grabbed a wrench from the floor and struck him hard, the sound ringing through the garage like the toll of a bell. Joey's gun clicked empty. He dropped it and lunged toward Vanessa. They collided, crashing into a table of tools. She fought back with everything she had: years of anger, regret, and grief bursting all at once. Joey was stronger, but rage made her relentless. He pinned her against the wall, his hand around her throat. "You think you're better than me?" he hissed. "You're just like me, willing to do anything for power." Vanessa's eyes burned. "You're wrong." She jammed the flash drive into his neck like a blade. It wasn't sharp, but it startled him enough for her to shove him off. Donnell fired once. The bullet hit Joey square in the chest. Joey staggered backward, eyes wide with disbelief. He looked down at the spreading crimson across his shirt, then back at Vanessa. "You were always stronger than you knew," he whispered, and collapsed. For a long moment, the only sound was the rain. Donnell lowered his gun. "It's done." Vanessa stared at Joey's body, her breath shaking. "No," she said quietly. "It's not done. Not until they all know." By dawn, the story broke. The footage, the files, the transactions, every secret Joey had buried was out. News anchors called it the biggest corruption scandal in years. Politicians distanced themselves, investors vanished, and the casino closed its doors by morning. Vanessa didn't stay to watch the fallout. She left the city with nothing but a small suitcase and the memory of the man she once loved and the one she lost. Doug's voice lingered in her mind like a ghost, reminding her that love and guilt often live in the same heart. Donnell disappeared. Some said he fled overseas, others claimed he was silenced. Vanessa never tried to find out. Some stories, she decided, didn't need endings. But in quiet moments, when the night was still and the wind carried faint echoes of laughter from another life, she wondered if justice had truly been served or if she had simply become another piece of Joey's legacy, another ghost behind the gates.